Hi everyone, I am going to continue on and do a little bit more of this Lost Ocean picture today. I thought I'd zoom out to remind you what it was, but I'm going to zoom in now and move my book a little bit into shot. I'm just going to fiddle around a bit, sorry, I should have been a little more organised to start with. I think we'll leave it like that and then we can see most of the picture that I want to do. I'm going to start off with some of these leafy bits, and I'm just going to use some greens, quite simple to get going with. Now on this part over here that you can't see now, there were some leaves and we did them in fallow green, which is this one, and I'm going to use that for some of these as well. I think I'm going to actually use it for these grasses. I'm going to just sharpen first because it's a little blunt and they're quite thin. So I'm just going to use them for these, use it for these. Now, because it's thin, don't worry about any sort of using more than one colour or doing any sort of difference in tone. The only thing I do is actually try to make sure I don't colour over where they cross over, because I think sometimes you can see that. It doesn't look too nice if the direction of the pencil isn't quite right. So I do try to pick out one particular piece of grass or whatever this is and colour that, and then wait and go there. Now you could do a little bit of shading either side of there to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional, so you can, there will be some shadow on the underneath one, but for me that's too difficult with this small detail. I can't see well enough for that. It amazes me how some people do get teeny weeny details. I just can't see. So I don't do them. Now this bit here and this bit, the same plant, but they are still quite small. I'm going to see what I'm going to do with those. I've grabbed this dark green, this is the Viridian, and what I would like to do is to do a little bit darker down in that bit and lighten it towards the tip. I'm going to try. It might be tricky in this little space, so if you find it too difficult, it doesn't matter, just do it in a solid colour. It's still going to look pretty because it's this colour and it will work. So just use a gentle touch on those ends to keep them quite pale. You could leave it a little bit white, sometimes people like to do that, but because at the moment we've got a white background, I like to go all the way to the edge. I may do some sort of background on this, I haven't really thought about it yet. I haven't got that far in my head. I thought it would be nice, especially at the top where the lighthouse is, to do some yellow for the light coming out and maybe a blue sky bit, but I may not. I might just leave it with the white paper. Sometimes I feel that once I finish it's better to see if the background needs doing, and I might just decide it looks fine without one, or I might just want to move on. To be quite honest, I just finished and I don't want to do any more, but we'll see how my thinking is when we get to that point. So I'm doing this bit in the same way, although they're a little bit far away, they're not, you know, that bit's coming from here and this bit's coming from here, but they look like the same plant, and I think it's quite fun to have some things the same. It gives you a sort of, it ties things together, really. That's what I like, a sort of neatness to it. And we have only got a limited amount of pencils anyway, and although we could obviously combine colours together to make different shades, these have been chosen because they are the sort of seascape colours. So I think we'll leave it. And I've just noticed we've got these grasses here, which I think will do the same as this. So we'll grab that fallow green again and do these. Again, I'm not going to worry about changing the intensity of colour through the grass. It's quite small. You could, if you wish to, you know, do it how it feels right for you. You know, you might feel that this bit would be lighter because the light would be coming down from above the water. So you might want to make it darker down here and then, you know, do less colour as you go up to the end. But for me, I'm happy with it just being a block of colour. I've just seen some more of those leaves that we were just colouring as well. I'm just checking you can see. Yeah, and that's why I stopped to look up at the camera, or else I'll end up just colouring random green in a strange place, which would be interesting and different, but not what I was after. Now we have the treasure chest, which we'll do in a minute, and we also have the circular bits below it, which I feel are probably rocks. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know whether I want to colour them as rocks or whether they would be coral. But I think as we've got quite a lot of coral, because we've got all this here as well, there's quite a big area of this going that way, we'll do them differently, and then it will just add a little bit of difference to the picture. So that's all of that. I need to do this, so that's back to the Viridian. And here it is. I don't know if you heard that siren then. We live in a little cul-de-sac, but our main road is very close to the hospital, so we often hear the ambulances going by. It's also a main road to other towns, so they might be off to those places too. So we hear all sorts. It does go quiet at night. It's quite noisy on the road. I'm just trying to work out if that's a leaf or a stone. I think that's a stone. Yeah, it can be quite quiet about 2 to 5 AM, something like that on the road, on the main road. But we do have a trees between us and the road. There's a fair distance as well. We're not directly parallel. Well, so it's not too noisy. In the summer, if we have a lot of things open, you know, we have French doors in our bedroom. If they're open, we get a fair bit of road noise, but it's not unbearably loud. I guess I'm used to it as well. I don't mind. And we do, because we have a river between us and the road, and we have a canal on the other side of our house, so we get lots of wildlife as well, even though we're near the road, which is really nice. We often hear owls hooting at night. That isn't always nice, because they're not actually hooting, they're screeching. There's a screech owl. He's very noisy. So I'm going to use this Terra Verda for this strange looking but interesting at the same time. Excuse me, I just had some crisps. They're irritating in my throat. I shouldn't have had them, but you know, they were nice. Some ready salted olive oil crisps and delicious. But I could have done without them really. I'm wondering whether to do these little circles in the same colour or differently. Just looking at what I've got and having a little think. Could do them. No, I think I'll do them the same. But just trying to make them slightly darker on the outside. Although they're really tiny, I just can't resist because they look like berries. And that's how I do berries. But I don't think it's really showing up. You could just colour it in as a solid thing, which is effectively what I'm doing, even though I'm trying not to. Right, I'm going to do the little rocks next, and we've got this bunch here and all of these and a few here as well, so there's a lot of them. And I'm going to do them in a brown. Now we have 3 different browns in this set. We have quite a reddish brown, I'll show you, this one, which is the burnt sienna, which I think I'm going to save for the chest. And we have a slightly darker, still reddish brown, which is the sepia. So I'm going to do the stones in the burnt umber. They're quite dark. and then we'll do the chest in the lighter colours. And what I hope that means is that it will stand out, because our lighthouse stands out, and I'd like certain features of this page to stand out. So you see what I'm doing with the rocks? I'm just trying to do them darker around the outside and then less towards the centre. Just keeping an eye on my computer at the same time, which is a bit naughty of me. But yesterday my son missed the bus. Well, he didn't miss the bus, it was full, so I had to wait for the next one. So he sent me a message to say he'd be a little bit, 10 minutes, only 10 minutes later. He said he'd rather liked being later because the bus is usually rammed, full, noisy and hot. And the second bus only had 4 people on it, and it was quiet, but he was on his own. His friends were all on the other bus, so he was... Oh, look, there, that bit there is definitely... I'm trying to remember what colour I did that. What colour did I do that? It was there. It was Viridian, wasn't it? Viridian. There's a leaf there. Yeah, so he's going to try and convince his friends to all get the later bus. And his brother. But his brother wasn't at all keen. He likes to get home. So we'll see what happens tonight. But it's a bit early yet, actually. Let me see. Yeah, it's only 3 o'clock. Although you're listening to this in the morning. They don't finish till 4. I think the buses leave at 10 past. But yesterday he didn't write down his homework because he was in such a hurry to get the bus. And when he looked at it, he couldn't find it, so he wasn't sure. So I think he might have got confused as to what he had to do. And he also didn't know when it was due in. So it was all a bit rubbish, really. Gave him a bit of a talking to, you know. But we'll see. It's still just getting used to fitting into the new routine and the new college. But they seem to be enjoying it. They've got friends from their old school there with them. I think it's nearly the whole gang of them that are at school together, that hung out together, that are at the college. So that's nice. And they're not doing the same subjects. I think some of their groups they hang out in are the same. I think my one son's doing computing with a friend, and my 2 boys are doing maths together. But there are other subjects. They seem to be making some new friends from other schools as well, which is really good, because the college brings together quite a few different schools from different areas. So that's nice. Because it's the 6th form. Some schools have 6th forms already, and children just stay at school and do their next lot of exams, but some schools don't. So their school didn't, so they had to find somewhere else to go. And the college, a lot of people say college is good, it helps make them more independent learners. But as far as I can tell so far, the college just want the parents to get more involved in the learning, so the children are independent of the college rather than being able to do it on their own. But we'll see. Mine are fairly good at getting on anyway. Just if they remember to write down things. Now here we get a little bit complex because the rocks turn into coral. And where do the rocks end and where does the coral begin? I think I'm going to go here for a rock. And here. And maybe these 3. And then leave it there. I think that's what I'll do. It's a very personal choice. You can do it your way. Now this bit of coral, I may not show you how to do because it's going to be identical to what we did over here. But we'll do the treasure chest next. Now the treasure chest is slightly scary in that it has clasps and locks on it, which will be metal. We don't have a lot of space for doing metal. So we'll see how we get on. We'd start with the wood. So as I say, I was going to use these two colours, which is the burnt sienna and the sepia. I'm just going to start with the burnt sienna and do a layer. Now this bit I think I might leave and do metallic. So I might just do this bit in here as the wood. It's good I didn't, but it's good to try and colour in the direction of the wood because wood has a grain. Now this is quite a reddish colour, but it will help us to just see what's going on with this. So this crab is tiny, isn't he? I don't know what colour I'm going to colour him. Anyway, we'll get there. So through there. Okay, so there's our first layer. It's quite orangey. But we're going to grab the darker sepia. Whoops. There you go, sepia, and do some details. So I think I'm going to put a dark layer all the way around this edge, and it will just make that metal stand out a little. And we would want, there'll be a bit of shadow at the bottom where these rocks are nearby. I'm just going to bring that up a little bit like that. We're going to do some shadow at the bottom of this bit as well. I'm just going to grab my other one, the burnt sienna, and do some colour in there. I think that's the loop of the padlock. Okay, now under the crab it might be a little bit shadowed. It's quite fiddly under there. Do my best, like that. And then under these locks and clasps, it would be a bit darker, like that. I'm having a look. It looks a little faded. I think that might be good. I'm going back in with the burnt sienna though and just doing a few bits and bobs. So I'm just going to extend up that shadow a little bit and blend it in. And the same here. Let's blend it up a little bit. And it doesn't matter if it looks a little bit faded, say on this edge, because you know it's under the sea. It's going to be weathered, isn't it? Not weathered. Eroded from the sea and faded and stuff. So there we go. I'm just going to leave that like that. I quite like that sort of half finished look to it. Oops, sorry, I just hit the tripod. So I think it's going to be easier to do silver rather than gold on this chest for the colouring. So I'm going to use this Payne's grey. It's quite a dark grey, which is quite useful. So we're going to start here. I'm going to put it down quite heavily, get quite a dark amount, and then reduce it as we go up. And because we've got a more intense grey, it's easier to get that difference in colour because we can start off darker. There we go. Now we need to do all these little bits and pieces. I'm thinking they'd be darker at the bottom and then lighter as we go up. So I'm actually not even going to put any on the top of there. There we go. Now we've got our crab. I don't even know what colour crabs can be. I guess they're a sort of mix of colours. I think let's go for this. Let's go for some yellow ochre first. Let's do him in that colour and see what he looks like. So I really don't know. I was thinking maybe a bit of orange in there. So we'll try the cadmium orange that we've got just for a little touch around the edge of the top of the shell maybe. Maybe we'll go over all of it actually. It'll just stand out a little bit from the brown on the chest. I think I'm going to leave it like that. And lastly we've got the shell. Oh, and the crown. Okay. Yeah, we're okay for time. Can do that. The shell, thinking slightly pinkish. So I'm going to go for this alizarin crimson, which is a sort of pinkish colour. If you look at the tip, you can see. I'm I'm going to go all over in a very light layer of that, there, and then put in a few darker bits where there might be some shadow due to the shape of the shell. Hope you can see. There we are. I'm just going to leave it like that, very simple, but I think effective. I hope you agree. Now the crown, we have got some jewels on that crown which I'm going to colour in first, and then they won't get in our way. I'm going to use our red. We've got the Venetian red. Move the crown across just slightly for you. And here is one gem, and here it's too big, small, I mean, to do any sort of shading. I think there's one here, and here, and is that something on the crown? Maybe there's gems along the bottom there, and in there. There we go. So now we need to put forward our sort of gold idea. So I'm going to start with the burnt umber. I tend to always start with the dark brown, but I'm just going to put the smallest bit because this crown is very small. So there we go, that's it. And then we want a softer brown. I'm going to go for the sepia, and we go over the top of the brown that we've done and draw it in just a tad. That's it. And then we go in, we're starting on our yellows, we go for the yellow ochre. So we go over the top of the brown again and bring that in a little further. There we go. Now we can start to work through some of our yellows. So we've got the cadmium yellow. Go over the top of the, at least the last yellow that you did. Just help it to sort of blend in. And then we have the Naples yellow. And I'm going to go over all of it, not the gemstones if I can help it. It wouldn't be a disaster, but I might go a bit orange because they're red. Trying to leave the tiniest bit of white in the middle, but not on the very tip. There, that's our crown done. So as I said, let me just move the book a little. Oops, actually I'll zoom out a little bit. So we have done this bit now, of course, all the way up to here. Now this bit, apart from the jellyfish, will be the same as this. So I'm not going to demo that. And these leaves I will do in the same as these leaves, which was the fallow green over there. So if I show you the jellyfish, then you can finish this bit by yourself and just follow exactly the same. I know we've got these funny prong bits here, but I would do it like in this colour, like that, okay, in the dark deep purple. So Mr. Jellyfish, what are we going to do him? We've got all our purples coming up for here. We've got browns and yellows here. So I'm thinking, just looking at what I've got, we could do him in a very bright blue. Or we could do an orange or a pink. But we've used our pink there. I'm going to go for orange. So I'm going to grab the cadmium orange and I'm going to zoom in a little for you. There we go. I can't move my book very much now. Backwards anyway. So I'm going to do him in orange, and I'm just going over in a layer of orange completely to start with. I'm not doing a really heavy, I would say it's quite a medium pressure, certainly not heavy, but I'm going to do a heavier layer on the, I want to say tentacles, I think I'm right. And I'm doing them in the same way as I did with the grasses, the same pressure all the way along, and just taking one and following it right through in the correct direction. There. And now I'm going to grab a darker colour. I'm going to use, I think this burnt sienna will work well with it. And I'm going to do these bits here, I'm going to do darker so they look like they are slightly indented, which I think is quite interesting and fun. I'm just going to do that circle. I am sorry, phone ringing. I hope it didn't really scare you. That was a scam call. He was pretending that I had won a postcode lottery. I'm going to put some darker here, and that I was going to get a gift card, and that I had to clarify information. And the first thing he asked me was which age bracket did I fall into. Now I am not naive, and I refused. I said, oh well, when you send me the card the shop will know how old I am, they'll be able to tell, so you don't need to. Oh, it's not as easy as that. And then he hung up. So I do try and keep them on the phone a little while because I don't want them to con people. But it's quite a shame. So anyway, we have almost finished. I think I'm going to finish there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish colouring this bit. I'm going to show you actually, talk you through it. So these ones up here are very similar to the ones we did already in the earlier video. But this one and this one are quite different. They haven't really got an edge, because remember we did the edge of it. I'm going to do that edge just around the where the dotted line is, and this edge I'm going to make an edge rather than trying to follow through all this pattern. We're going to keep it nice and simple. But anyway, I will do it, and I will end the video on a photo of the completed bit. I might take a close-up of that and then one of the whole page, because we've finished this page, well, we've finished the detail on this page. If I do a background, obviously there'll be a bit more, and I might do something more with the lighthouse light. I haven't quite decided yet, but we would have finished all the details, so I will take a picture for you and you will see it in a moment. So thank you very much for watching, and happy colouring.